First of all, what is a joint? Basically, a joint is going to be an area where two bones join together to promote motion. In the knee, at least, we have three bones that make up actually two joints, which you'll notice on the slides I actually say knee joint complex, because the knee joint is not just one joint. It actually is composed of two joints. And we have three bones, the one being the femur, which is the thigh bone here at the top. And then we have the tibia down here, which we consider our shin bone. And we also have the patella, or our kneecap. And those three bones form two joints. So the first injury I'm going to talk about is an ACL injury, or an anterior cruciate ligament injury. And you'll hear a lot about this one. You'll hear a lot about it on TV, football players tearing their ACLs. It's very common, a knee ligament injury. About 300,000 ACL tears happen each year, and that number keeps increasing. And there's a gender difference in injury rates, with females sustaining ACL tears about 2 to 8 times more than male counterparts. So the natural question is, well, why is that? Well, if I had the answer to that, I'd be rich. But I can give you a couple of theories on why that happens. Women tend to land and pivot and do things differently than men. And they tend to land with a straighter leg and with their knees in a knock-knee position, or valgus. And both of those positions have shown to increase strain or stress on that ligament and cause it to rupture. There is some thought that hormones play a role. So the menstrual cycle, there is some evidence to show that females tear their ACL at one specific point in the menstrual cycle when certain hormones are higher than others. So that's a rationale. There could be structural differences between the males and females that cause this. So where the cruciate ligaments sit in the knee, there's a notch that sits there, and that notch is smaller in some people than in others, and they think that people with smaller notches may get their ligaments caught. And I can go on and on with a lot of the thoughts behind that, but definitely the women behave differently than men. And how do these injuries happen? They typically happen via a contact mechanism or a non-contact mechanism, which is the non-contact mechanism is more common. Simply all that is someone goes up, lands, pivots, no one touches them. All they do is contact the ground, but their ligament tears. Where contact is when someone, and if you watch football or you watch any contact sports, when a player hits another player and you see their knee cave in or give way, that would be a contact injury. So when a player has actually contacted another player. So what would your knee feel like? Or if you think you might have an ACL tear or sustained an ACL tear, what would your knee feel like? Most people, when they come into the clinic, are going to describe a popping. They felt a pop or heard a pop at the time of injury. You're going to have rapid swelling, so really quick amount of swelling and basically bleeding inside the knee joint. You're going to be in some pretty intense pain. So most of the time, athletes or individuals that suffer an ACL tear don't want to bear weight on their knee. It's uncomfortable for them. And the other thing that's, interesting but not so great about ACL tears is that they are associated with a quicker onset of osteoarthritis. So to put this in perspective, about the peak age to tear an ACL is around 14 to 15 years of age. And whether someone undergoes reconstruction, so they repair that ligament, or they don't, what they're showing in some preliminary studies is about 5 to 14 years after the tear or the reconstruction, or people are ending up with early signs of osteoarthritis. So if we have an athlete or a person tear their ACL at 14 years of age, we can see osteoarthritis signs at 19, which is somewhat problematic. We're doing a lot of work at the University of Michigan right now to try and figure that out. So last type of ligament injuries that we'll talk about are the collateral ligament injuries. And we have a medial collateral ligament and we have a lateral collateral ligament. And the medial collateral ligament is torn more commonly, but collateral ligaments in general are very common. And oftentimes they're going to occur in conjunction with other injuries. So when you tear your ACL, it's common to have an MCL tear as well. So they're not just isolated trauma, they can actually happen together. How does this happen, or how can we injure the MCL and the LCL? Oftentimes this happens through a direct contact mechanism. So if we look at this football player here, he's putting a force on the outside of the leg that's directing the leg inward. So the stress is actually on the medial side of the leg here, or the inner side of the leg where this arrow is, and that would be a mechanism for an MCL tear. Again, remember our MCL is on the inside of the leg there. Whereas if I took this player's head and stuck that head where the arrow was, and placed the force on the inside of the knee and pushing the knee outward, that would cause an LCL sprain. So enough of the ligaments. We went through the ligaments rather quickly. I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about articular cartilage injuries. And remember what I said, articular cartilage injury was the cartilage that's on the end of the bone. So we have articular cartilage that lines the bottom of this, the thigh bone or the femur, and we have articular cartilage which lines the top of the tibia or the shin bone. These injuries can occur isolated, so we can have trauma to the cartilage itself, and that's the only thing that happened, but most often they occur with another type of injury. Okay, so they often occur with an ACL tear, or they may happen with a meniscus tear. Typically the injury mechanism or how this happens, again, a sudden twist, you're vacuuming, you're playing a sport or a movement, a pivot, your leg kind of collapses or does something wrong, and we can actually shear the cartilage. So basically anytime the cartilage is made to move back and forth on each other, we can actually shear the cartilage or basically tear it. It can also happen due to a forceful impact. So if you were doing something in your house and you fell on your knee, that can impact the cartilage on the back of the kneecap. Or if you fell from a step and you landed on one leg and the two bones hit together, so the tibia, your shin bone, and the femur, the thigh bone hit together, that's another way you can injure your articular cartilage.